What's up, everybody? Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. Welcome to the Twitch channel. Welcome to a different kind of stream because tonight we're doing a just chatting, and I have two good friends along with me today who are great 18th century historians. First and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Stephanie Seal Walters for being here again for her 3,116th time being on some kind of
But it's
thing
been
that I
a
do.
while. It's been a while. I think it's been over a year since I've been on one of your
It
platforms.
has. It has. I gave you a break.
I know, long time coming. I
I
expect
know.
to be on 6 more of these in the next 2 months, so come on now.
Yes, I already gave both of them my list, partial list, and they're already like Stephanie's already on it. She's already thinking of the future stuff. So, and my other friend Neal Hurst is here. Neal, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. I'm looking forward to tonight's stream and what lists we're going to have here because I think it's fascinating to see what appeals to people as far as popular history and popular culture is concerned. And I think I know at least one of Stephanie's choices. Some people might know one of mine as well, but we'll get into that. So, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about our top three films that are set in the 1700s. And believe it or not, this is a tough thing to come up with, right?
Yes. In fact, I tried to get John. When he first asked me to do this, I was like, can we extend this to the early Republic? Because but if that was the case, every one of us would have chosen Master and Commander. I promise. Yeah. Neal, would that have been on your list if that
Actually,
had been?
that's a good. I don't think it would be, honestly.
Oh,
Oh,
no. Okay. Whoa.
oh,
That's a topic of
see,
conversation.
yeah.
So I really struggled. I had to actually like IMDb 1700s list just to be like, am I missing something? So no, but I got this. I got this.
Yeah, I had a couple people reach out and say, "Oh, you need to say like Amistad," and I'm like, "That's 1800s. That's not 1700s." So
Yeah.
I think they had the wrong John Adams, thinking the wrong John Adams. Like that's John Quincy Adams.
Yeah. And like if you think 1600s too, there's tons of
Oh, yeah.
phenomenal movies about the 1600s, about
Yeah.
Contact. It's amazing. And also, getting to Salem and witchcraft, but 1700s.
1700s. Yes.
Oh,
You
1700s.
both studied this stuff, and I'm like, well, we're just gonna go with that. So what we're gonna do is we each have our three, and we're gonna do a round robin format. If anyone here watching has ever watched the list on VH1 back in the day, that's basically like the kind of format we're gonna do here. We're gonna start at number three, and we're gonna go up to our number one choice, and we're gonna do one at a time as we go around. And as we go, I'll be putting the choices up on the bottom of the screen, and everyone in chat can say how great it is, how terrible it is. I can't believe you like that, and we'll go from there.
There's gonna be a lot of that.
Yeah, there might be a lot of that tonight. Just get
What are you
ready.
talking about?
And as we go through, I'm actually going to be doing a lot of typing because I'm going to put this stuff up on the screen for you all to see, and we'll go from there. So, without further ado, I think we need to start with number three, and we will go right to Stephanie for number three on her list.
And friends, I'm mortified. Okay, so preface.
Yeah.
I am a good historian, dadgummit. And when John said to pick films, finally last night I was like, okay, does it have to be historically accurate films? And he said no. I am well aware that this movie is garbage in terms of history, but there's so many pros to it, including Daniel Day-Lewis's But Friends, Last of the Mohicans. Is that what you thought, John?
I thought that's where you were going.
Last of the Mohicans. I know. Look, Neal, I'm in show. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of Neal, and here I did it. Okay, so all right, I want to say, Last of the Mohicans is an incredible movie in terms of 1990s movie history. It is 1992. It comes out. The only 1990s historical-ish this movie is missing is a song by Bryan Adams. Like that's all it's missing. And I was like 100%. So I love this movie because it is as 1990s historical drama as you can possibly get. I think it's one of Daniel Day-Lewis's best film. Okay, that is a wonderful love story, folks. Like, even though it's not. But this movie came out when I was little, and I remember the first time I ever watched it was actually in a film course, and it was for the cinematography, about how beautifully shot the entire movie is, because you can't deny it's a gorgeous movie to watch, even though no one believes that Daniel Day-Lewis was ever adopted by a Mohican tribe. But I really do appreciate this movie. I have read the book. Of course, the book is so much better than the movie, as it always is. Historically accurate? No, it's absolute garbage. I do appreciate about this movie, though, because we've already discussed the 18th century, unless it's the American Revolution, and even those movies are few and far between. No one touches this century, really. And this is the French and Indian War, which is also, in terms of not just movies, but history in general, a time period that historians don't even touch that much either. So it's an interesting topic. It's a great way to introduce the French and Indian War to some folks to get them interested. I can tell my material culture friends are going to murder me for this because the wardrobes are awful, but yet they're not. They're what you want in a romantic historical drama. So throw stones at me. I'm sorry.
Great soundtrack too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The no matter where you go, I will find you. Stay alive. Just stay alive.
I'll be pretty honest here. I don't think I've seen the whole thing through.
He couldn't stand it. Is that what you're saying, Neal?
No, it probably, it just loses me. I don't know. I don't think I have seen it all the way through.
Wow.
I don't fault you for that.
I mean, Magua is one of my favorite characters of all time. So,
really?
I actually thought about getting him tattooed on my leg because I love his character.
Also, and I'm a huge fan of MASH, and I always love that Hawkeye's character was named after Last of the Mohicans. So it has nothing to do with the movie or the TV show, but it's great trivia if you love MASH and Daniel Day-Lewis.
Wow. Amazing. Neal, what's your number 3?
All right. So number 3 for me is probably either you're going to know about it or you're not going to know about it. But it is the 1957 film Story of a Patriot. This is filmed in 1956 in Colonial Williamsburg as their orientation film. It is currently the longest running movie in history. And as of something like 2003, it has had 30 million people see the video through Colonial Williamsburg. It stars, of course, Jack Lord, a very young Jack Lord before he goes into Hawaii Five-0 and his other film career, I guess. I'm not sure what else he did. But it was filmed by Paramount, and it was filmed in this kind of strange VistaVision, which is this super wide, almost panoramic style video that they only did for like 2 or 3 years in the 1950s. But it also requires this very strange sort of theater setup, which Colonial Williamsburg has built. And so it's only supposed to be viewed in this giant, super wide screen, but tells the story of a fictional guy named John Fry, who is newly elected to the House of Burgesses and is sort of right there on the heels of the American Revolution. He meets all of the star-studded characters of George Washington and Patrick Henry and William Byrd, and visits all of the sites in Williamsburg as a part of it. And of course, in the end, his father was, once an Englishman, always an Englishman. But at the end, he certainly does side with the American cause. So, but I think just a sort of a great sort of piece, working at Colonial Williamsburg, it's one of those things where people always bring it up, and people have been, seeing this video for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages. So even though, again, once, as you said, Steph, the horrible historical inaccuracies in it, there's plenty, but just I think a really fun film to watch, to see where we were sort of at the end of the American colonial revival.
Wow.
Neal, I have that movie on DVD. Yes, I did. I walked out of that Colonial
There you go.
Williamsburg gift
Taz
shop.
in the chat has that as well. So I've never seen it, so this is new to me. I did not know.
Well, you might be able to stream it on YouTube if you look
Okay,
carefully.
too.
Yeah, you need John. When was the
It's
last
o-
time you were in Williamsburg?
John,
How
it's
did you-
only
It's only been what?
30 minutes. It's so
Did you go
short.
to the visitor center? You can't miss it at the visitor center.
Yes, I had some great tickets from my friend Neal Hurst to go, and I got a yearly pass because of Neal. So
Neal, you need to make him
I'm
go see it now.
I'm telling you, my yearly pass ran out. I gotta slide Neal a 20 and get another one, get that discount. We even have people giving you how long this thing is. 34
Oh,
minutes.
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
Jack.
34 minutes in length.
Following, man. It really does.
It does.
must.
It's almost like a cult classic. You know,
Yeah.
it almost can be like moved into that category. Absolutely.
I have that one later on my list.
Oh.
A cult classic.
Wait, is there a cult classic from the 80s?
Hey.
You might be surprised. You might be
I
surprised.
didn't choose Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, I didn't choose that. I actually thought about that as a curveball, but I didn't choose it. So since we are not concerned about authenticity all around, and
Embarrassing ourselves.
yeah, we're fine with this because we're historians. Self-deprecation is part of being a historian. I have my number 3 choice is one that I like to watch like every year, once a year when it gets a little colder outside. It was a made for TV film. So it wasn't a series. It was a made for TV film.
Did we choose the same thing?
Maybe. I chose The Crossing.
No, okay.
Oh,
We
yeah.
choose the same one.
Nice.
I chose The Crossing.
Crossing.
So this was my way of giving props back to Jeff Daniels for his great role in Gettysburg, and he messed it up with Dumb and Dumber. And then I'm like, come on, get back to something good here. So we have it was A&E production, done in 2000. It was actually filmed in Toronto, which is kind of ironic, fighting the British and you're doing it in Toronto in Upper Canada.
It's probably because half the time the Delaware, you could just walk across it at that point.
That probably, and money also probably being a factor too. And funding that could probably be a little bit easier. Obviously, Jeff Daniels as George Washington, the late great Roger Rees as Hugh Mercer, Robin Hood Men in Tights fame. And what else? West Wing and Cheers he was on. We all know that some of the uniforms are not that good, obviously, because it's 18th century stuff. And again, we don't have that many films from this era or about this era to really like go off of, and we need more that are more authentic. Crossing is not one for that kind of authenticity. Another thing is Hamilton is on Washington's staff, and it's like, no, not yet. Hamilton's not on Washington's staff just yet. He's actually like commanding artillery at Trenton at this time, so he's not doing that. And the big faux pas for me was the closing credits. I laugh at because they say Washington's army didn't have any casualties, and I'm like, yeah, they did. Like a couple guys froze to death. Like there were 5 wounded, including a future president, James Monroe. So we kind of gloss over that with that little bit of like mythological leadership of the late great George Washington.
It's not mythical; it's real.
It's one of those things where I'm telling you, they did a series a few years back where it was generals versus generals in history, and Washington was put up against Napoleon, and Washington beat Napoleon.
Wow. Well, yeah.
And I'm like, are you serious? Really?
I think it probably just depended on the guys he had.
Oh no! Yeah. I mean, that Moscow thing was bad, but The Crossing is a movie I watch every year around Christmas. It's like my Christmas movie. It's a little bit hokey because it's a made-for-TV thing, but I liked the way Daniels portrayed Washington. He was just kind of cocky and arrogant and would say off-the-cuff things, and I'm like, that's the way I like to realize that. So that's Washington to me. So we have our first round finished. Our first 3 are now available for people to pick on us in the chat.
I was about to say, yeah, who had the
No.
best number 3 and the worst number 3? I'm voting Neal. Neal, I'm real mad because I didn't even think
You
about
didn't think of it.
the story of a patriot. Yeah, I'm kind of bitter. I vote Neal. Does that count?
Hey,
Stephanie has the worst.
I had completely forgotten about The Crossing, honestly. But I remember as a kid, I could not wait for that to come out.
But did you finish it?
Probably as a kid, absolutely. Today I don't know if I'd be able to get through it, but it is a classic, though. John, do you know was that put out by Turner? The Crossing? I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't think it, because it was an A&E production.
Oh, okay.
And Turner was still hardcore TNT
right
stuff. So I don't think
it just seems like something he would have done,
It really does. It really seems like this kind of thing going on at that time because of the way we looked at history at that time and historical narrative and stuff. It really fits into that genre of that era of films when we had like Gettysburg and we had these made-for-TV series that were knockoffs of certain things and then remakes, and then you had The Crossing and you had some other stuff pop up. But it's really like Ted would have loved that.
Yeah, I find it interesting. We haven't had, or there hasn't been a screenplay of Trenton, Princeton, that sort of whole campaign, or I always thought an awesome screenplay would be just doing Private Yankee Doodle, just following Joseph Plum Martin, but alas.
So Neal, congratulations. You are the winner of the first round.
Yeah, by a landslide, probably, honestly.
We only got one person to vote out of 6 people watching. This is true American democracy at work. 6 people registered to vote and only 1 does. This is great. Thanks, people. Great. Okay. So this first round is done. Now I have to add more stuff in. Stephanie, we are going to number 2 on your list. Please don't make it a number 2. What do we got?
It's actually one of my all-time favorite movies. It is completely out of left field, and I bet you $10 no one on Twitch has ever watched this or heard of it. But it was a made-for-TV movie. I do not know what channel it was, but the reason why I chose this movie is Young Catherine. So that's the name of the. Do you know it, Neal? Do you know Young Catherine? Dang it! I'm striking out with Neal tonight. So
it's not surprising though.
Anyway, so Young Catherine is about Catherine the Great of Russia. But this movie, it came out. Yeah, I have it written down. 1991. There's only 2 slightly notable actors in this movie, one more than the other, the first being Christopher Plummer. It is because it's the early 90s, and if it's a historical drama, Christopher Plummer is going to be in it. And also Vanessa Redgrave is in it. She's the Empress Elizabeth, so Victoria's mother-in-law. But so this was a movie that when I was little, my mom had this on VHS, and it was the double-decker VHS. You had to stop halfway through and put the next movie in, kind of a deal. But my dad was in a band, and on Friday nights he'd go to band practice, and I'd get in bed with my mom and watch Young Catherine. And it's actually a really good movie. It's all about Catherine the Great when she was young, when she was coming from Prussia to marry her idiot of a husband. But you want to talk about a girl power movie? That was a very influential movie on a young girl, because it's basically talking about Victoria, talking about Catherine coming to a place she had no idea where she was, didn't know any of the people, having to become a huge part of the Russian political system, basically overtaking her husband to take over the Russian Empire. And one of the best lines Christopher Plummer says at the end of it, he says, this thing is like this little waif of a girl has just won herself an empire. And it shows, it's a great early 90s girl power, this love for Catherine the Great, but it really does show like her struggles and how difficult it was. It's probably not historically accurate at all, but if you've never seen Young Catherine, it actually has a great Rotten Tomato score. I think it's like 79% fresh, which for a TV movie in 1991 is not that bad. So go check it out, Young Catherine. Does anybody enjoy to know what it is? Has anybody heard of it?
I don't know what it is.
Hey,
I've never seen it either. So.
See?
I need props for choosing a movie that was not about the French and Indian War or the American Revolution for my second pick. I need to say, I went to Russia.
No, that's great.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look it up now.
really good.
Yeah. Awesome. So I don't have anything to say about that because I haven't seen it. I feel bad.
I
That's
knew
good.
it. I was like, it was going to be out of left field. That was my one movie I was going to choose. I
I
don't think
appreciate that because it's out of left field.
Yeah,
I think that's amazing.
I tried.
So hey, you did it.
I
You
did
stumped me on that one.
Did it?
Neal, what do you got, my friend?
All right. So for number 2,
Yes.
this, some people may have seen it, some people may have not, but I have chose the 1988 romantic drama Dangerous Liaisons.
Oh, nice.
That almost made my list. You know they're making a new one, right?
No, I did not know that.
Yes, there's a
I don't
new
know. I
one
think it'd be
coming
pretty
out
hard
this
to
year.
remake the original one. Well, I mean the 1988 version of it. Of course, directed by Stephen Frears, and just has a pretty much an all-star cast from the late 80s, early 90s, starring Glenn Close, John Malkovich, Michelle Pfeiffer, Uma Thurman, Keanu Reeves, and it is based on a 1782 novel that was written in France, even though the movie is actually set pre-revolution. It's actually set, if you go by the costumes, set quite a bit earlier. But essentially, it is your classic 18th century novel of revenge and unprincipled key characters that are constantly turning on each other. And it's just one of these things where there's intercepting letters and trying to embarrass one another. And of course, in the end, all of the main characters essentially are exposed and either die or sort of run off in shame. But with that, I will say, in the opening scene, it is an incredible dressing sequence of Glenn Close and John Malkovich. Really just fantastic details in the as a dress historian. One of my favorite all-time opening scenes in terms of, or even just any scene showing some sort of dressing in the 18th century. So my pick for number 2 is Dangerous Liaisons. Also a shout out to James Atchison, who was the costume designer. He did win the Academy Award that year for Best Costume.
Nice. Material culture coming to play here.
Whether
Steph,
good
what do you
or
think?
bad.
Steph, what do you think of that pick?
Oh God, I'm never going on a stream with Neal again. Makes me look bad. Dangerous Liaisons, fantastic. I know the new one is coming out. I've seen the trailers for it, and I don't know if it's going to be a miniseries or a movie. I think
really?
it might be a Hulu produced thing or Netflix. I can't
Oh,
remember.
interesting.
Yeah, somebody in the Twitch channel, if you know more than I do, throw that out there. But it actually looks really good. But yeah, that's one of my favorite Glenn Close films.
Yeah.
She's.
It's interesting. She keeps all of her costumes, and so she has donated them to one of the colleges that she attended. I can't remember which one it was, but all those pieces that Atchison designed, they all survive. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I know it's hard. You mentioned the remake. I just feel like it's going to be hard to out creepify John Malkovich, though. He's just one of those characters that is like he was perfectly suited for that role.
Wait a minute, what's this? Wait, hold on. It's out right now?
Oh, it's
really?
out right now. Is it Ashton, that's my husband. Hey, husband.
8
episodes. What is it on? Is it Hulu?
Hey, husband.
Hey, husband. Yeah. He's my biggest fan, that one.
Yes. He's always in chat when she's on.
He is.
Yeah. We'll find out what it's on. He's probably looking up right now to get those brownie points.
He's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's really helping get the Christmas spirit going in the house, isn't he?
he just screamed. Yeah, don't ask me about Christmas. You don't want me to turn my screen. But anyway, because it's all up. But anyway, except from behind me, he just yelled from across the room that it's on Stars. So it's
Stars.
Stars. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have to get that for a month. Just to watch it.
Go YouTube the trailer because I was actually
Yeah, we'll have to.
kind of impressed. It looks creepy. So
just get the free trial, Neal, and just binge watch
binge
for 7 days and then just cancel. That's what the rest of us do. So, all right. So I have to go now. My number 2 pick. This one, I don't think anybody would have guessed from me. So I really reached into my bag of tricks with this one. I picked a movie made in 1962. And one of my favorite actors is in this movie. I picked the 1962 Mutiny on the Bounty.
Oh, nice.
So we're talking Marlon Brando here.
Yep.
And I was a big fan of Brando. Burt Lancaster and Brando are like my 2 guys that I loved in vintage movies and such. So this is the 1962 release by MGM. We all know about the novel that it's based on. Trevor Howard, the great Trevor Howard, is Captain Bligh. And he did an awesome Captain Bligh with that. And Marlon is Fletcher Christian. So they actually built a full-scale replica of the Bounty in Nova Scotia to do this filming. And then they sailed it to Tahiti. It cost $750,000 for the ship alone to be made and sailed to Tahiti. Brando's contract was $500,000 and 10% of the profits. That's what he wanted.
Wow, that's
now
quite the trivia there too.
This is a cool piece of trivia. He turned down Brando, took this one instead of another role as Lawrence of Arabia. He turned down Lawrence of Arabia to do Mutiny on the Bounty because he always wanted to see Tahiti.
Well,
so it's very Brando-ish of him,
Yeah.
where it's like he's got that eccentricity where he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be sitting in the desert. I want to go to Tahiti. It gets 7 Academy Award nominations. It doesn't win any, but it gets 7 Academy Award nominations.
Did it lose to Lawrence of Arabia?
It is a box office flop. They lose $23 million on it.
Oh my gosh.
However, Brando meets his next wife on the set. She is the woman who plays Princess Maimiti. What was her name? Tarita Tarapaya. They were married for 10 years and had 2 children, and he met her on set and bought property in the islands, and they worked together for 10 years. So he actually met his next wife, or I guess I don't know which one that was. There were a few on the set of Mutiny on the Bounty, but I always loved the story, and I thought it was a fantastic remake. Because one had been done, 1935, I believe, was the first one.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I believe.
No CGI.
That's the only remake that I've ever thought was better than the original. That was close. And this is the only one. This is the first one done in that Technicolor 70 widescreen form. So it's got all that color and it's rich and vibrant of that era. Wow. Sorry, I'm a film nerd. So I really like it because it's really colorful. So when we saw Master and Commander, which we couldn't have because it's early 19th century.
By like 3 years.
It kind of reminded me of that.
Like 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. Sorry.
Cut me off.
So,
historians don't do well getting cut off on dates.
Yeah.
It's the long 18th century.
Neal.
We could. Okay, next time we'll do of the Napoleonic era.
Georgian.
Yeah, right.
Georgian.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it, but I like that one the best. I mean, we had the Bounty later, which was 1980s. I think it was early 80s. I think it was 84 or somewhere around there. But it had Mel Gibson in it, so I don't use it. So I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan. Sorry.
John, you mentioned the sort of cinematography of that. You know, it also really reminds me of, and it doesn't fit into the 1700s, but probably my all-time favorite movie is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh,
You know, Disney's version of it from 57. And, you know, it also has that just beautiful cinematography and all these, you know, full-scale replicas because there is no CGI. You know, it's just amazing.
yeah, yeah. So we will see who won this round, but
It's not me, but I'm gonna win round one. I'm coming for blood on this one. So
I'm afraid we're all going to choose the same thing.
I have a feeling, Neal.
yeah,
I have a suspicion we may have chosen the same number one.
for everyone on Twitch watching us right now, poll just went up to find out who won round 2. Please vote. Vote early, vote often, and let us know. Well, it's up for 2 minutes. And then
No one's picking mine because no one's seen it.
No, we'll see.
I'm just here to offer, you know, new movies.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm going to go look it up now.
I don't even think you can stream it. You may, I don't know. I don't know where it is, but it's great. The one thing that was interesting, though, I was looking at a lot of top 18th century lists, and quite a few of them had young Catherine like in the top 20. So obviously I'm not alone, but you're just hanging out.
I did see a lot of props for Dangerous Liaisons too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I've never seen it, so I can't pick it. So
It's all right. You should check it out. It's
yeah,
great.
I will. I'm going to have to check out a couple because
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot here with this. 1 minute to go on our poll, everybody. So how are you two enjoying this so far?
Oh,
great.
this is awesome.
Good.
This is fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice to, you know, so many of these things I just, you know, different perspectives from different people seeing things, you know, and so there's certain things that I always go back. I feel like I'm one of these, you know, movies that I like. I always go back and rewatch them 10,000 times. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Gettysburg or, you know, any other movie just because, you know, it's good background noise while I'm doing something else. So,
Yeah. I think it's also fun because it's hard to love movies in your own era because you pick it apart. Like, I hate watching Civil War movies with Civil War historians because they ruin it for me. And I do the exact same thing when it comes to, if you sit down with me and watch The Patriot, I can't keep my mouth shut. So it's actually nice to talk about movies that, you know, we actually like from.
well, and also, you know, the different reasons why we like them.
Yeah.
You know, that's the other sort of reason I find kind of interesting. You know, what is it that you like and what draws you to that movie versus somebody else?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Results of the poll is I got that round. Holy crap.
You won? Good.
Nice.
I'm actually kind of shocked Dangerous Liaisons didn't.
I guess we have some Marlon Brando fans.
Well, hey guys, listen, I'm the only loser right now, so I'm about to.
I'm going to be watching Apocalypse Now next and just be like, wow, Brando. Wow.
I'm coming for blood.
You're talking about two very different roles.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Complete opposites.
I'm telling you. Yeah, that'll be on the top 3 trippy movies list.
There you go.
Yeah. So we are going into our number 1 pick, and this can be number 1 because it's our favorite. It can be number 1 because it's the most authentic. It can be number 1 for any number of reasons, and we'll explain that going forward because we have our reasons for choosing each one. So Stephanie, number 1 pick for the top 3 movies of the 1700s.
The movie is all of the above in so many ways.
Oh God.
1776.
I knew it. I knew it.
1776.
You could not do this without doing that.
Like, did you already have it up before I even said it? You probably already had it typed in.
I pretty much knew.
Yeah, it's just Mr. Feeney. I can't get around him.
That's it.
John Adams, man. William Daniels. Which, by the way, if you're a Hamilton fan and you ever have seen 1776 the musical, there is this hysterical interview, but with William Daniels and Lin-Manuel Miranda. And William Daniels ain't having any of it. Thanks, husband. Isn't having any of Hamilton. And he's actually kind of rude. And Lin-Manuel is so gracious through the whole thing. But anyway, going back to 1776 the musical. So there are many reasons why I love this movie. One is because every freaking song is a bop It's a bop, man. I'll blare that in my car any time of the day. So, and also it is one of the more flattering depictions of John Adams, who is, of course, my favorite founding father. This is, pre John Adams, a miniseries, which is, of course, phenomenal. But it really does take John Adams and his role in forming independence with Benjamin Franklin. I think it does that beautifully. Of course, they're not dancing around Philadelphia. That's okay. But one of the most incredible pieces of this film, and one of the reasons why I love it so much, the majority of the script is actual quotes from the founding fathers' diaries when they're, discussing what happened in the Continental Congress. Anytime William Daniels, John Adams is talking to Abigail Adams, that's almost verbatim from their diary entries. So even though sometimes those quotes are definitely taken out of context, I really think it does a fantastic job of offering some of the founding fathers had fantastic things to say. So it literally takes it from the horse's mouth and they're not putting in filler. Another reason too is the humor is a little crude. It's a little crude. And I love that because it really embraces 18th century humor, because a lot of times you will watch films you'll watch films about the Revolutionary era. It's so serious, right? Like John Adams, there's no jokes about sex in John Adams the miniseries, but they have all these weird little puns with each other throughout the musical, and it's coming straight from the founding fathers' papers. And so they did have a sense of humor that we kind of forget when we think of the founding fathers. And then last but not least, probably the best depiction of a Virginian in any film ever, with Richard Henry Lee singing the Lees of Old Virginia. When I defended my thesis topic for my dissertation, which was on loyalism during the Revolutionary War, I actually started out with the Lees of Old Virginia, where I made my committee watch this film because I was like, this is Virginia. And so it's hysterical, which, Neal, I hope I didn't offend you with that, but
here Lee, there Lee, everywhere Lee.
Everywhere Lee. Oh yeah. And then, sorry, I'm going to get off of this in a second, Neal. I'll give you your chance.
That's fine.
Molasses to Rum to Slaves is one of the most powerful and upsetting songs that you will ever witness. The guy who plays the delegate from South Carolina and sings that song, he's actually on ER. He's Dr. Green's dad. That's like his only other thing he ever does. Wow. But he the way he sings that song and describes the reason for not wanting to let go of slavery, and it's disgusting, and it hurts you, and you can see in John Adams' face like it's just the molasses and rum trade and talking about enslavement. So there's a lot of cool stuff in there.
Taz also says that fountain was the one used in the Friends opening.
It is. Yeah, Taz. Wow. Yes, there is. It's in the Friends. There's a lot of little details in that film that show up in other films.
See, we're turning into movie trivia night, and that's amazing.
Yeah, the one where he sings the Lees of Old Virginia. That's the fountain.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I did not know that. Mm-hmm. Wow, Neal, you gotta. I know for Stephanie, this is the huge pick.
That is. I mean, it's going to be hard.
This is the thing is close to her heart. So
I love that movie.
So we have to try to outdo this. I don't know if we can. Go ahead, Neal.
I can try. All right. So for my pick as my number one of these movies that I can probably pick up anytime and watch is the 1975 Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, Barry Lyndon.
Yes.
Just one of my all-time favorites. Again, I think it goes back to how the script is written and how it basically sounds like any sort of novel written in the 18th century. It's like literally just lifted right out of it. And it's just, I think it's just so cool to see that. If you read a lot of 18th century literature, which I do, it's fun to see that on the screen. But in my opinion, probably one of Kubrick's best films. It was interesting. I was just looking it up when this afternoon. It took 300 days to film it. And it's just one of these classic things where it's sort of like Hogarth's Rake's Progress. You have a widower with a young son, and just everything that all the bad choices plus the sort of environmentally bad choices that happen on top of it are just sort of, absolutely classic for the 18th century, for satire, for all those great things. I think it's also just beautifully shot. Every shot just feels to me like a Gainsborough portrait. And as someone who really enjoys art, it's just a masterful piece. And it's all, everybody, of course, you hear on all the sort of commentary on it. And of course, it was shot using only natural light, which is a feat in its own. Something like that compared to ILMs and Disney using the new volume to shoot the Mandalorian. Just a feat to be able to shoot these scenes in their natural setting. I just think it's just a gorgeous movie and a very, very sad story, but one that was not uncommon in the 18th century.
I didn't know they shot it all with natural light.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Wow. That is a feat in itself. Holy moly.
More trivia.
Yeah.
Trivia.
More trivia when you're hanging out in Williamsburg late at night. Wow, I gotta.
All right, John, what do you got?
Well, I don't know if I can top this. Okay, so anyone who knows me knows this is one of my favorites. It's a cult classic, and this is one of my. When I found out that my girlfriend was into this, I instantly asked her to marry me. Because it's like, this is the one. This is it. You're into this movie. It's all good to go. We'll be fine. My number one pick is Amadeus.
Amadeus.
Yes.
Nice.
That almost made my list. Amadeus was close.
Yes. And it was, and I remember watching it the first time when I was in like middle school. We watched it in music class. And I was like, what the heck? Who's this guy? What is going on here? So it's, I didn't know that Milos Forman was the director of it, but it was released in '84, so I was barely 3 when this thing came out, going on 4. So it's about this fictional, riff between Mozart and Salieri at the courts, and F. Murray Abraham just nails it as Salieri, and Tom Hulce as Mozart. The one thing that I didn't know, and here's your little bit of trivia on this particular one, is that Tom Hulce beats out Kenneth Branagh and Mark Hamill and David Bowie to be Mozart.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe Mark Hamill was up for that.
So
it seems like a very strange.
The director did not want Kenneth Branagh or David Bowie because he decided that they should be an American cast. So they were out. And then he was worried about Mark Hamill because he just came off of Star Wars and all this stuff going on. He's like, they're going to see him as Luke Skywalker, not Mozart.
Yeah, I
obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's genius. It's like when you have George C. Scott as Patton, and then all of a sudden he's in, something else. It's like, that's Patton. That's not.
Yeah.
Hamill's always going to be Luke Skywalker. So that's how Tom Hulce gets the role. He actually was a stage performer as well, and had done plenty of work on stage, and so he was prepared for the role. His unpredictability, like that little thing where he's just quirky and he's kind of like all over the place, and he goes off sometimes. And it is said that he got that from watching John McEnroe play tennis.
Wow!
And so he instilled some John McEnroe in his role to go like when he goes off about something, or he's like just like OCD, or he's like ADHD. That's him acting like that, based on what he sees John McEnroe doing on the court, going off and stuff like that. They actually shoot some of the scenes in the Count Nositz Theater in Prague, where 200 years before Don Giovanni debuted in that theater. So they're actually going to the source of a lot of this stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Right to the place. Nominated for 53 awards and won 40 of 53, including 8 Academy Awards, which is just an astronomical feat. And my last little tidbit is in 2019, it was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress.
Nice.
Because it is culture, as they say, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And so they wanted to preserve it in that way. So that's the background of why I chose it, but I really chose it because I took Tom Hulse's laugh and made it something on my Twitch. So when you follow, his laugh goes off. So people are like, "Would you shut that maniacal laugh off?" And I'm like, "No, that's my
So
thing.
good.
You can't be doing
Did
that."
you ever watch that VH1 series that I Love the 80s that they did? Like they had a whole like 10-minute thing dedicated to Amadeus when it came out that year. Yeah, and it's hysterical.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I've always loved that one. So that was definitely my number one. So everyone in chat, we're going to put up our final poll, and we're going to do an overarching who won the whole spiel, not just round 3, actually round whatever you want to call this. We're going to do who's the winner tonight. Please vote early, vote often. Who do you like the best as far as the lists are concerned? Who is not on the list that some of you would have liked to have seen too? Steph, is anyone you had to leave off the list you really wish you didn't have to, because we only had 3, or Neal, or anybody?
You know, there is a lot of golden era of Hollywood period films, you know, and I think a lot of them kind of go unknown. You know, Marie Antoinette, which a lot of the costumes survive from at LACMA. And they're just, you know, amazing costumes because it was all shot in black and white. The Howards of Virginia is another classic with Cary Grant. You know, again, it's one of these things that it's probably like plays once a year on Turner Classic Movies, you know, like 4th of July weekend.
Ooh, Drums Along the
Drums
Mohawk.
Along the That's another good one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Didn't think of that one.
My problem was the 18th century historian in me. It was big. It was trying to find the films that I could actually appreciate and love instead of cringe when I watched them. Because I knew immediately which ones I was not going to pick. I will say I was half tempted, like John, to pick the first Pirates of the Caribbean just because it's just a fantastic movie, but has nothing to do except other the fact that it's set probably in the 18th century. They argue that's the case, but halfway the costuming says that.
If you're going to argue that, can we throw out Hook?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yeah.
I vote yes.
I think probably one of the best Peter Pans. You know, obviously fantasy, but set in the golden age of piracy. So perhaps early 18th century.
Yeah, wasn't Fantasy Island another one?
Yeah.
That was 1700s.
You know, another one as a kid that I loved was Swiss Family Robinson.
Oh, I love that.
You know, I think it's like 1715, 1720 it's supposed to be set in. And, you know, again, that one's another Disney just classic.
Can I just say I can't believe that we didn't cross over once?
Yeah, that was really surprising.
I mean, especially considering the fact, like, that there aren't that many 18th century movies set in the 18th century. A lot of it is 1600s, 1900s, or 1800s. So that I'm fascinated.
That is pretty amazing.
I was impressed. Yeah.
I'm very impressed with that. So we did good.
So we gave everyone with us 9 different films to go watch because of that, because we didn't overlap.
Go watch 1776.
I think I could take that about once a year, and that's about it. And it's usually my wife choosing to watch it.
When I got my when I lived by myself when I was getting my master's degree, that's the movie I would clean my apartment to. I'd turn on 1776, and I just, you know, sing lots of.
It was your Hamilton.
It was. And I will say, like, I love Hamilton and appreciate it for what it is, like, because it is a cultural phenomenon. It brings people to history. But I freaking loathe Alexander Hamilton, man. And I know they don't think he's great in Hamilton, but I can't.
No.
As a John Adams fan, I can't sit down that long and watch Alexander Hamilton. So.
No. Before we forget, Stephanie, you won tonight, according to our people.
Shut up!
Yes, congratulations. Congratulations, according to everyone in chat, that you are the winner tonight. Poll question.
Was my husband the only person voting? Thanks, honey.
He voted in the chat. He said 1776 is top
Yeah,
for
it is. God bless him. I have made him watch 1776 many times, and I will sing the song because there's the song that's called "To the Right," and anytime I'm driving and we're having to make a turn to the right, I'll start singing "To the right." To the right.
This is like ultimate fan.
It is.
He
Yeah.
is. Yeah, she
The
is.
only thing that could have beat 1776, the musical, was John Adams' the miniseries, but we weren't allowed to do miniseries. So
Yeah, we'll have to do that sometime. But I know Neal. Like the first time I met her, I learned that 1776 was her thing. I met her for like an hour, and it was like within that hour that we were hanging around each other, I learned that 1776 was her thing.
And I have the original movie posters. I have all sorts of stuff from 1776. So yeah.
See, funny. See, this has been fun. I've really enjoyed it, and you two were the first ones to jump off this cliff with me. So thank you for doing that.
Anytime.
But I was hoping that you got some enjoyment out of it, and it's something different than just us pontificating about what we're working on right now. I wanted to do something where it's like this is really about making historians look real. Kind of like we did Historians Off the Clock for a while, but I wanted to do something else, and I've always loved VH1's The List, and I thought, why don't we do a list for historians and people working in humanities in general? I don't care if you're an artist or whatever the case may be, and talk about the things that have influenced us. So that's where this idea came from, and I'm glad that you two agreed to come on and try it out.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Seriously, it was fun.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for the list of stuff, because I got 6 more things to watch now than I had previously, although I have seen 1776, so
watch it again.
Watch it again.
You'll be a better American for
it. Yes. Thanks a lot. You'll be a better American for it.
Although I will say I just got done seeing Button Gwinnett in Savannah, and he's not in 1776, the musical. So that's the only.
No. He dies pretty early on, though.
Yeah, but he should have been. He signed the Declaration, so he should have been.
I think, if I remember correctly, he is like one of the most collectible autographs to get from the Declaration, because he only lives like a couple months after signing.
He dies in the pool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Didn't know that. I didn't know about the autograph thing.
He was the youngest too. Yeah, he was the youngest.
Really?
Person. Yeah, he was the youngest person assigned, and then he barely lives long. So, and his name is Button. So who doesn't want that autograph?
For those of us who likes buttons, that's pretty cool.
Hey, I enjoy buttons. I hate zippers. I enjoy buttons. Anyway, thank you two for coming.
That's the last time Stephanie ever came on John's show.
We'll do a top 3 material culture, and we'll see who's into buttons and all this other stuff. What's your favorite top 3 closures? Yeah. Yes, we'll have hook and eye and button and zippers. And, yeah. But thank you two again for coming on tonight and doing this. This has been great. Really appreciate you.
Yay,
sure, thanks for having me,
John.
You're very welcome. Thank you everybody for coming on and hanging out with us for a little while. We really appreciate everyone hanging out and taking part in the poll questions. If you enjoyed it, please let us know. And we'll do another one. I have a list over here of more that we can do, and see what else is out there. For future ones of these future ones. That's very bad English. I need more coffee. Thank you again, everybody. Hope you have a great night. Be safe, be well. We will see all of you later.